Nobody told you the truth about learning web development. They said that you needed to learn HTML first, then CSS, and then JavaScript, and then maybe a framework or two, and then databases, and then deployment. And only after all of that, after months of grinding, would you finally be ready to build something real. That's the path, that's how it works, except it's not true anymore. That entire roadmap was built for a world that no longer exists. In 2026, Claude Code changes everything for beginners. Not because it writes perfect code every time, and not because it replaces the need to think, but because it removes the wall that was keeping you out. The wall that said you can't build anything until you know everything. No, you don't need to clear that wall anymore. You just need to know how to have the right conversation. And this tutorial is built around that idea. We're going to start from zero, no assumptions, no skip steps, and then you're going to learn how to use Claude inside Base 44 to build real projects through nothing but clear, structured prompts. We're going to cover how to think through a build, how to guide the AI when it goes off track, and how to actually finish something instead of getting stuck halfway through. And we're not just talking theory here, because we're building two projects together, a professional portfolio website and a full calorie tracking app with a database, calculations, a live dashboard, and AI-powered features baked in. So that by the end of this video, you're going to have two working projects and a workflow that you can take into anything you want to build next. And that's the real goal here. So now if you want to master AI tools and you want to learn how to build profitable SaaS apps and websites and AI agents and mobile apps with AI, I've created a complete masterclass that really does show you exactly how to do it all step by step. And this masterclass normally costs $499 to join, but since you are watching this video, thank you very much. You can join completely free. Just check out that link in the description to get free access to my masterclass, and you too can start building your AI-powered business today. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Before we start building anything, let's go ahead and make sure that we're using the right model. And the model selection plays a huge role in the quality of the apps that we create here. And for this tutorial, we're going to use Claude Opus 4.8. Claude is one of the strongest, if not strongest, option available inside Base 44 because of its reasoning ability, its consistency, and its understanding of application structure. It handles complex user interfaces well, it follows design requirements closely, and does an excellent job of maintaining consistency across layouts and database structures and application logic. So that becomes especially important when we're building projects that really need to look professional and function reliably from the very beginning. To select Claude, head on over to app.base44.com and then look at the bottom left corner of the main prompt area. Click the settings icon here to open up the workspace configuration panel, and then from there, open up the model selection dropdown and scroll through the available options until you find Opus 4.8. Then simply click on it to make it your active model. Selecting Opus 4.8 gives us access to Claude's most advanced model, designed for complex reasoning, extended task execution, and software development workflows. And since we'll be building complete applications throughout this tutorial, well, it does make sense to start with the model that delivers the most reliable results. So after you've selected it, let's take a look at the bottom left corner again, and this time the settings icon should now be replaced by an orange asterisk style icon, and that's the visual confirmation that Claude is active and ready to use. Now, it's a good habit to check this always before running any prompt so that you know your project is being generated with the correct model. And one reason why Claude works so well for client-ready projects is its ability to keep everything organized as the build grows. Database relationships stay structured, page layouts remain balanced across different screen sizes, and navigation elements tend to stay clean and be more predictable. And the result is usually a much more polished application right from the very first generation. So now that Claude Opus 4.8 is selected and active, we're ready to start building our very first project. And now it's time to build out our first project, a simple portfolio website. So before we jump into Base 44 and we start prompting, it is a good idea to spend a minute or two planning the structure. A little preparation here does help Claude understand exactly what we are trying to build and usually leads to much cleaner results on the first generation. So for this project, we're going to create a straightforward personal portfolio site with 4 main sections. And at the very top, we'll have a hero section, and this is the first thing that visitors will see. So it should contain a bold headline and an interactive call to action button that immediately grabs your attention and encourages you to engage. And then below that, we'll add an About section dedicated to introducing ourselves and sharing our professional background, of course. And then it also highlights our strengths and explains our overall approach to our work. After that comes the portfolio section, which will be responsible for showcasing our projects, our previous work, and technical capabilities inside a clean, responsive grid. And then finally, we'll add a contact section at the bottom of the page where visitors can submit inquiries through a secure form that logs and stores incoming information. Before generating the site, however, we also want to decide on the overall visual style. Having these design choices in mind before writing the prompt keeps everything focused and gives Claude a clear creative direction to follow. So for this build, we're going with a modern, dark editorial aesthetic. And the site will use a charcoal slate background, creating a premium low light appearance that reduces eye strain while giving the portfolio a strong technology-focused identity. We'll use clear typography, of course, with distinct font weights, so headings and subheadings and body text are easy to scan. Strong typographic hierarchy does help visitors understand the site's key message within seconds of landing on the page. Sharp card borders will also be used throughout the design to separate content cleanly and organize information without adding unnecessary visual clutter. We'll also leave plenty of breathing room between sections. Generous spacing helps prevent the layout from feeling too crowded and naturally draws attention towards more important content and call to action elements. So once the structure and the design direction are clear, we'll head on over to app.base44.com and create a new project. In the center of the screen here, you'll see the primary prompt console. Again, before entering anything, look towards the lower left corner and click the settings gear icon. Open up the model settings and verify that Opus 4.8 is selected. And this ensures Claude's latest reasoning engine is active before we begin generating the project. And now that we're ready to build, let's click inside the main prompt container and then enter the following prompt exactly as written. Please build a premium, high-quality, responsive personal portfolio website from scratch. Structure the layout as a single-page experience containing 4 distinct sections. First, a hero section featuring a bold main title that reads Engineering High-Performance Systems, an elegant subheadline, and a prominent call to action button labeled Let's Connect. Second, an About section built as a clean 2-column row that lists my core execution principles on the left and a bulleted matrix of technical skills on the right. Third, a portfolio section structured as a responsive 3-column project grid, displaying clean project cards where each card contains an icon box, title, description, and an interactive view blueprint button. Fourth, a contact section containing an interactive lead form with fields for name, email, and project details that automatically saves submissions into an internal database table. Style the entire site with an editorial dark aesthetic using a charcoal slate background, sharp container borders, and generous section padding. So this is a great example of a prompt of how detailed prompts can dramatically improve results. Because every major section is clearly defined, the layout requirements are specified, and the visual style is explained up front. And because Claude has all of the necessary information now from the beginning, it can generate a complete, cohesive website without requiring manual layout work, CSS configuration, or database setup. So after pasting in the prompt, let's go ahead and click the arrow icon in the bottom right corner of the prompt box to start the generation process. And as Base44 begins compiling the application, let's pay attention to what's happening here. Claude reads the instructions and then starts organizing the entire page structure all automatically. It creates the hero section, it arranges the 2-column about layout, it builds the responsive portfolio grid, and then assembles the contact form. At the same time, the form is connected to an internal database so that submissions can be stored without any additional configuration. So when the whole generation is complete, the finished website will appear in the preview panel here. And at this stage, you should see a complete single-page professional portfolio application featuring the dark editorial design, responsive multi-column layouts, the clean project cards, and a fully functional contact form connected to backend data storage. So the first build already looks quite impressive, but one of the biggest advantages of working this way is how easy it is to make refinements. So rather than editing styles all manually, we can just simply describe the changes that we want. So let's go ahead and click back into the prompt console and enter the following follow-up prompt. Please add smooth cursor hover states to all action buttons and cards on the page, making them subtly scale up by 3%, and having a moving neon border accent line circling around them. So this prompt updates the existing project by adding interactive hover effects and visual enhancements. And the button cards will gently scale when hovered over, while the animated neon border effect does add a modern touch to the overall design. Small refinements like these can significantly improve the user experience without requiring any manual CSS work. So let's click the execution arrow again and allow Base44 to process the update. So after the changes finish generating, let's move over to the preview panel here again and then begin testing out the website. And at the top of the preview area, you'll find device testing options for desktop, tablet, and mobile views. Let's go ahead and switch between each view and then examine how the layout responds. Scroll through the entire page and confirm that headings display correctly, that spacing remains consistent, and that no sections become clipped or broken on smaller screens. Let's hover over the buttons and project cards to make sure that the animations do trigger smoothly, and then look also natural across the entire site. And once everything checks out, the first project is complete. You now have a fully functional personal portfolio website running inside your Base44 workspace. And the site includes a professional hero section, an about area, a responsive project showcase, and a database connected contact form. Now, more importantly here, the entire project was created through natural language instructions using Claude Opus 4.8. So hours of traditional front-end development, layout, configuration, database wiring, and styling work were condensed into a simple prompting workflow, making it possible to produce a polished professional website in a fraction of the time normally required. But here's the thing though, Base44, as you've seen, is incredibly powerful, but most people still don't know how to use it properly because they end up building basic apps that don't make any money or websites that can't even convert. And that's exactly why I created my own complete Base44 Masterclass, because inside of my course, I'm going to show you step by step how to build profitable SaaS businesses, high converting websites, and mobile apps, all using AI with zero coding required. You're going to learn how to build AI agents that solve real problems and generate recurring revenue, the exact prompts and the strategies that I use myself to create professional websites in minutes. Also, how to clone successful apps and then add your own profitable twist, along with my proven system for turning Base44 projects into actual income streams. Now, this is not just theory. I'm going to walk you through real builds. I'm going to show you my exact process, and I'll give you the templates and the frameworks that have helped my own students before launch successful AI-powered businesses today. And again, this masterclass normally costs $499 to join, but only for the people that are watching this video. Thank you. You can join completely free. So if you are serious, and I hope you are, about building something profitable with AI in 2026, click that link in the description to join my Base44 Masterclass. Your future self, I promise you, will thank you for taking action today instead of just watching another tutorial. All right, now, so let's move into the second project, which is a calorie tracker application. And this one is a little bit more advanced than the portfolio website we just built because it does need to manage real data to update calculations and track daily totals, and later use AI to analyze the user's eating patterns. So before we start generating the app, we do need to set up a separate project inside of Base44 and then think through the structure carefully. And for this calorie tracker, we need a few core features working together. And the first one is a food entry form where users can quickly log their meals, their ingredients, the calories, and the nutritional details. And those entries need to be saved directly into the system database so that the app can keep track of everything. And the second feature is a calorie calculation dashboard that updates in real time whenever new data is added. So as soon as a user logs a meal, the app should calculate the current total and then display it clearly. The third part is a daily summary widget that tracks macronutrients against a fixed target so that users can quickly see how much they've consumed for the day. And the fourth part is a weekly overview data sheet, which gives users a structured way to review, to sort, and then analyze their nutrition history across a rolling 7-day period. So before writing the first prompt, we also need to define the visual style and the data rules. And for this tracking tool, we'll use a clean, high visibility layout. The background will use a dark slate theme, which gives the dashboard a sleek, professional look while keeping screen glare low. Now, since this app is focused on numbers and daily tracking, the data elements need to stand out clearly, so bright data cards will help separate the meal inputs, macro metrics, and weekly charts into more readable sections. Clear progress status bars will update as the user logs meals, giving instant feedback on how close they are to their calorie target. We also need explicit data fields for meal names, calories, protein, carbs, and fats, because these fields keep the database organized and make the calculations more accurate. So now let's go to app.base44.com and create a new project for this app. In the center of our Base44 workspace here, we'll navigate to the primary prompt console. Again, before setting anything, let's click the settings gear icon on the lower left side of the module and confirm that the model is set to Opus 4.8. This makes sure Claude's latest and most advanced reasoning engine is active before we even build out the tracker. Let's click directly inside the central text input now in the console and type in this first setup prompt. Please build a functional, full-stack calorie tracker application shell. Structure the user interface with an empty, clean dashboard layout that uses a highly visible dark slate theme, crisp card containers, and clear labels. Prepare the workspace to receive real-time data inputs and tracking metrics. So after entering that prompt, let's click the arrow icon in the bottom right corner to run the application build. So this first prompt creates the foundation of the app. Base44 generates a structured dark slate dashboard wireframe with clean containers and clear labels, giving us a layout that is ready to hold calculation widgets, tracking components, and database-driven records. Once the baseline dashboard appears on the canvas, we can then add the actual tracking features. So let's click back inside the text interaction box and enter this complete feature construction prompt. Please build out the core tracking features inside this active dashboard layout. First, add a meal logging form with input fields for meal name, calories, kcal, protein, G, carbs, G, and fat, G, along with an Add Item Submit button that saves records directly to an internal daily meals database table. Second, add a daily summary indicator card that aggregates total consumed calories and displays a dynamic progress bar tracking usage against a fixed target of 2,000 kcals. Third, include a macro breakdown component that calculates and displays daily protein, carb, and fat totals using clean visual meters. Fourth, build a weekly overview grid that displays past daily tracking records in an organized data sheet. So this prompt gives Claude a clear sequence to follow. It tells the system exactly which database fields to create, how the meal form should work, how the calorie totals should be calculated, and how the weekly overview should be displayed. So all of that means we can generate complex full-stack app logic, mathematical calculations, and dynamic layout updates from plain language without manually having to write state hooks and backend scripts or database configurations. Again, click the arrow icon here in the bottom right corner of the console to add these core operational components into the app layout. And when the build finishes, let's move your cursor into the right-hand preview panel here, and let's test out the live application. Type a sample meal entry such as grilled chicken with 350 calories into the input fields, then click the Submit button. After submitting, let's check that the calorie progress bar does update immediately and that the entry appears inside the summary tracking table. Now, this confirms that the database connection, the calculations, and the dashboard display, that those are all working correctly. So now let's refine the app with a more useful reporting behavior. Let's select the primary prompt entry container again, and then enter this optimization prompt. Please update the daily summary card to automatically animate with a pulsing red glow if the user's logged items exceed the 2,000 kcal target. Also add a clear reset day button that wipes the current database entry records for the active day with a single click. Let's go ahead and run that prompt by clicking the execution arrow here, and this update adds conditional alert styling and reset logic into the active dashboard. So if the user goes over the 2000 calorie target, the daily summary card will then animate with a pulsing red glow, making the warning easy to notice. The Reset Day button also gives the user a simple way to clear the current day's records without manually deleting entries. So at this point, we've added validation rules and interactive control buttons through simple conversation without having to write any complicated data scripts all by hand. So now we're going to add the AI analysis feature. So this is where the calorie tracker becomes much more powerful because Base 44 can connect the app's logged meal data directly to Claude's reasoning engine. Now, in a traditional setup, this kind of feature would require API keys, secure backend routes, data parsing, and extra code to send information between the app and the model. But Base 44 already has a native backend bridge to Claude, so a button inside the application can send structured database tables directly to the model for analysis with zero manual configuration. Let's click inside the central input console panel and then enter this advanced automation prompt. Please add an AI analysis feature to the calorie tracker application. Build a styled button labeled Generate AI Insights directly below the daily summary card. When a user clicks this button, configure the application to pass the active meal database table to Claude's Opus's engine. The model must analyze the user's recent eating patterns, evaluate their macro balance, and output 3 personalized nutritional insights and actionable suggestions inside a clean text block titled AI Coaching Insights. Ensure this output card matches our dark slate aesthetic perfectly. Again, let's go ahead and click the arrow icon now to run the feature integration, and this adds a smart analysis tool directly into the tracker using a plain text workflow, removing the need to handle external code libraries or complicated backend integrations. After the feature is added, let's go to the right side preview panel again and then test it out. Let's log a few sample food entries, such as, say, oatmeal for breakfast and pizza for lunch, then click the Generate AI Insights button. The app should open a clean text card showing tailored macro tips and coaching suggestions, all based on our logged meals. So here's what's happening behind the scenes. When the button is activated, the app then triggers a secure process script that packages the log rows of meal data and then sends them to the built-in Claude engine. Claude then reads the food choices, it evaluates the macro balance, flags potential issues such as an excessive fat intake, and then returns clear nutritional feedback tailored to the user's log history. So before moving on, let's go ahead and read through the generated coaching text carefully. Make sure the advice actually matches the meals that we've entered, that it fits neatly into the dark slate dashboard design, and that it updates correctly when new food entries are added to the database. And once that works out, the calorie tracker is no longer just a logging tool. It now has real-time tracking, database storage, visual progress feedback, reset controls, weekly history, and an AI-powered nutrition analysis, all working inside one Base 44 project. We spent the last few sections building these projects piece by piece, so before moving on, let's go ahead and see how everything turned out and really make sure that all the features are working properly. Let's start with the portfolio website and open up the live portfolio project inside of the dashboard preview panel here, and then place our cursor at the top of the browser view. Let's slowly scroll down through the full page so that we can inspect each section in order. Now, the hero statement should immediately catch our attention with strong typography and a clear call to action button. The About section should read cleanly and present your professional background in a structured way. The project grid should resize beautifully across the layout, and the contact form here at the bottom should work properly by saving the visitor inquiries into our database. Now switch over to the calorie tracker dashboard file and then run a complete test there as well. Let's add several sample food entries and then check that the progress wheels and calorie totals and macro charts and the tracking displays update accurately. After that, let's click the AI analysis controls and make sure that the coaching recommendations appear cleanly inside of the app. The output should load without lag, formatting problems, or advice that feels disconnected from the meals that we've entered. So looking at the first project, the portfolio website works because, well, every section does have a clear purpose. The hero section uses bold typographic headers and a high contrast action button to really capture attention right away and guide visitors towards the main offer. The About section uses a balanced two-column layout, making it easier to present a professional brand statement on one side and a technical skill matrix on the other. The Portfolio section under it uses a responsive three-column grid that displays project cards cleanly across different screen sizes, giving our prospects visual proof of our real-world capabilities. The context section and footer complete the experience by adding interactive input fields connected to backend data logging so that our visitor inquiries can really be captured and saved securely into a spreadsheet-style table. As for the calorie tracker, it's different because it does work more like a full application rather than just a content page. The food entry form uses a detailed data capture field that validates and submits meal names and calories, proteins, carbs, and fats directly into an internal storage table. The calorie calculation dashboard uses built-in aggregation logic to compute, refresh, and display nutrient totals as soon as the database updates. The daily summary widget also combines progress bars and conditional alerts so the user can track real-time macro consumption against a fixed limit. The weekly overview data sheet organizes historical entries into a chronological grid, making it easier to review and sort and analyze long-term nutrition trends. The AI analysis feature connects the app to Claude's evaluation loop, processes the stored meal data, and then prints personalized coaching insights inside a clean user card. So when you compare both of these builds, you can see how different the technical requirements are. The portfolio website is a clean informational marketing layout focused on presentation, credibility, and customer conversion. And then the calorie tracker is an interactive full-stack tool that depends on database arrays, variable tracking logic, real-time calculations, and active AI integration. Now, both were built inside the same Base 44 environment, but each one really demonstrates a different type of product that you can create with Claude. So let's take a moment to look at the amount of work Claude and Base 44 handled automatically across these two projects. We generated responsive CSS grids, structured page layouts, database connected forms, server routing paths, calculation scripts, secure storage tables, AI analysis flows, and live cloud deployment without writing traditional code manually. So that is really the value, the real value of this workflow, because once you understand how to describe the structure clearly, then Claude Opus 4.8 and Base 44 can turn those instructions into polished, functional applications that are ready to test, to share, and to build on. If you've made it this far and built both projects alongside me, thank you. You've also probably noticed that some prompts produce really great results immediately, while others do need a few extra adjustments. And that's completely normal. Building with AI is a skill, and just like any other skill, a few good habits can dramatically improve the quality of your results over time. The most important habit that you can develop is planning before you even start prompting. So spend a few minutes mapping out the scope of your application, the features that you want to include, and the overall design direction before typing anything into the console. And we followed this exact process in both of these projects. For the portfolio website, we defined the hero section, the about section, the portfolio section, and the context section before generating the site. And then for the calorie tracker, we outlined the meal logging form, the calorie dashboard, the daily summary widget, and weekly overview before even building anything else. We also decided on visual styles ahead of time, such as the charcoal slate editorial theme for the portfolio and the high visibility dark slate dashboard for the tracker. So that extra planning gives Claude a complete blueprint to work from, which then often leads to cleaner layouts, more accurate database structures, and fewer corrections later on. Prompt structure also makes a big difference here. If you want better results on the first attempt, then avoid short or vague instructions. The more descriptive that we are, then the better Claude can understand the application we're trying to build. Now, one technique that works especially well is organizing your requirements in a sequence using clear markers such as first, second, third, and fourth. And we use that approach throughout this tutorial when defining our layouts and database builds, styling requirements, and automation rules. A structured prompt creates a more logical path for Claude to follow, helping it process the full application architecture without overlooking important details. And as you continue building, you'll eventually need to decide whether a change should be handled through a follow-up prompt or a completely new project. Follow-up prompts work best when you're already refining an existing app. Adding new features, improving styling, adjusting content, or introducing small pieces of functionality can all be done within the current workspace. But if you're planning something entirely different with a new database structure, maybe new workflows, and a whole different purpose, well, then creating a fresh project is usually the better option. So keeping projects separate does help prevent unnecessary complexity and gives Claude a cleaner environment to work in. At some point, you'll also run into errors, unexpected layouts, or features that just don't behave exactly as intended. And when that does happen, don't start over and then rewrite your entire prompt from scratch. No, a much faster approach is to copy the specific error message or describe the issue directly inside of the chat panel. So whether it's a broken layout grid, a calculation problem, or a feature that isn't behaving correctly, Claude can then analyze the recent execution and generate a targeted fix for that specific problem. So small corrections like this are usually much more effective than rebuilding the entire project. Once you are comfortable creating portfolio sites and tracking tools, start challenging yourself with larger projects. Maybe try building client booking systems or multi-user scheduling dashboards or content management platforms, or say internal business tools or even full SaaS applications. Because every project teaches you how to structure prompts more effectively, to organize application logic more clearly, and take true advantage of Claude's ability to handle increasingly complex workflows. So the biggest lesson, the biggest takeaway from this tutorial is that you don't need to master traditional coding before building useful software. When you do combine clear planning, well-structured prompts, Claude Opus 4.8, and of course Base 44's development environment, then we can really create surprisingly sophisticated applications using natural language alone. And the more projects that we build, then the better that we'll become at translating ideas into working products, and that is ultimately the skill that matters most. The most interesting thing about both projects is that they started out exactly the same way, with a blank screen and a simple idea. One became a portfolio website and the other became a full application with database, calculations, and AI features. And the difference wasn't years of development experience, it was having a clear vision of what needed to be built and knowing how to communicate it. And that is a skill that will continue to matter no matter how the technology evolves. I want to thank you for watching and investing your time with me today. I'll see you at the next build.